to understand the passage that will be presented to us, to assimilate the words, the phrases, the teachings that will be presented to us, so that we can put into practice, so that we can be a better individual, not only for ourselves, so we find happiness within, but also to help others through our good deeds, our good actions, to do the same. This way, we also pray for our brothers and sisters who are not here with us today, perhaps those who are home, our friends, as well as those whom we still have to fix something between ourselves. We pray for them, we connect with all of them because we know they are brothers and sisters under the same God. May your guidance also be with Daniel, who will present it tonight. For all of us in both realms of life. This way, we thank you for this moment, and so be it. We would like to explain that today there was some change, right? Let's call it family help. It was supposed to be Kirsten presenting with us for us tonight, but Daniel will take care of this part of the work, as I'm quite sure that Kirsten was taking care of other things as well, right? Sometimes that happens in family, right? One helps the other, right? Wash the hand, scratch here, or take care of this and whatnot. But Daniel will give continuation to a work that Kirsten have been doing for quite some time, an amazing work, to bring to us chapter of this amazing book, Times of Health and Conscientiousness. This is already the second part. We're almost towards the end of it. Chapter 19, entitled Conscientiousness and Mediumship. Daniel, today you're not behind the cameras. Come right up.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome our new friends. Forgot your name, but our Myra, yes, and the beautiful daughters. So it's a pleasure always having you visit in our center. For those that are watching us online, I hope you enjoyed the topic. As I put it, someone removed here that I was covering before kissing, but I was removed here from the from the slide. So Kirsten has been studying this book entitled Times of Health and Conscientiousness, and she's almost there. So this book is comprised of two parts. So she went to the first part, and now she's concluding the second part of this book. And today we are discussing chapter 19, Conscientiousness and Mediumship. So this is the next chapter is going to be the last chapter of this book. So for you, if you wanted to go back and watch all the previous presentation from this chapter, feel free. All these talks is public in our YouTube channel, Spiritist Network. So, well, today we're going to touch a little bit about mediumship. Is a topic that is very dear for us because a spirit center that does not have a service that is offered to those that has passed away can be called any other thing but spirit center, because an institution that studies spiritism. So one of the main things that the spirit center touch very deep is the immortality of the soul. Is that we are here, live in the physical body for a temporary moment, and this is not our primary house, I would say. We come here, it's not in a mission, but to improve ourselves. But at the end of the day, we are all spirits, immortal spirit. And the question is, so what happened if we are here and there are others the other side, and loved ones, friends, and so what's gonna happen? So is this line, is this communication completely broke? No. That's why this topic of mediumship is not new. It's a topic, the communication between those that has passed to the other side is something that has been exist since humanity. We can trace back in early humankind. We're gonna see that the primitive man already worshipped something that was not in the physical body, right? The gods, right? Those that has passed away. So our ideas here is bring mediumship tied to consciousness that Joana de Angelis, the spirit mentor of Divaldo Franco, has put in this book. So let us, before we bring Joana, I would like to give some highlight about this faculty that we call mediumship. What is mediumship? So in this book, Evolution in Two Words by André Luiz, psychographed by Francisco Cândido Xavier and Valdo Vieira. So André Luiz says, mediumship is one of the incarnate human being's attribute, which is used to communicate with discarnate. Like, simple, straight to the point. So, it, mediumship is not a, to make very clear, is not a domain of spiritism. As I mentioned, spiritism um, was codified by Allan Kardec, that we can find in this 5 book that we call the Spiritist Codification. In the first book, the Spiritist book was published in 1857. So what happened before? We didn't have mediumship. Yes, we have this phenomenon of communication with the spirit. If we look back in history, especially during the medieval age, we can see a lot of cases of people that was put in stake, was burned at stake, because they are called witchcrafts, because they are talking to the devil, right? So that's what the church back then was inferred to, and a lot of people lost their life because they have a special ability to perceive things that go beyond to the physical eyes, but in that time, humanity didn't know what it is, so it was easy to attribute to something that was not from God, right? Um, because of that, this ability that some people has to observe or to register the presence of those that were not among us, they lost their life. Pure ignorance, right? But we are not here to judge the past. We are here to learn from now to the future. So when Spiritism came about, when Allan Kardec decided to investigate the phenomena of the turning table and end up publishing this at least 5 books, and he has more publication. So he devoted 1 book just for this topic, mediumship. In other words, he called the Medium's book. That is the second book here. So this book is put here in purpose to remind us that this is our foundation. Is the second book of the Spiritist Codification, of the Spirit's book. And then after that, Kardec published the Medium's book, the Gospel According to Spiritism, Heaven, and the Genesis. So this pretty much unveil the influence of the spirit in our life. The second one is a manual, as we put it here, was published in Paris in January 1861. In the original title, for those that read French, Le Livre des Mediums, right, Leo? Perfect, right? My French. So Julio Padovan is not here to correct me, so I think I'm doing the right pronunciation. So we put it over there the original cover of this book, and then the current English version, just for you to see how much we have advanced in regard to resolution. Right? Look at the resolution of the first book, and look at now what we have. But the beauty is that the content didn't change. The content is the same, right? So this special guideline is from the superior spirit about the theory of all kinds of manifestation, the means of communication with the invisible world, the development of mediumship, the difficulties and pitfalls in the practice of spiritism. In fact, as I mentioned, is the sequence of the Spirit's book. So for those that are curious about communication between us here in the physical and the spiritual one, this is the manual for those that really wanted to understand, as is mentioned here in the introduction, the development of mediumship, but also the difficulties and the pitfalls that this practice of communication with those that has passed away can be good, but also can be dangerous. So it's a great responsibility, right? So we need to, it's not only say, oh, can I communicate with my loved one that has passed away? I mean, we all can, we all do it. We're gonna see further in this presentation that we all have this capability, not only special people. So very fast here. I don't want to waste too much time. If you are more curious, you buy the book and you read the book and study the book. So, but this book is divided in 4 chapters, and those 4 chapters goes from chapter 1, do spirit exist? And then the Kardec explain all the rationale behind why, spirit is a reality. Chapter 2, the extraordinary and the supernatural. Chapter 3, methodology, and 4, the theories behind. So the second part comprises about the spirit's manifestation. Is about 32 chapters. So in that spirit, the second part is very fascinating because there you can find a lot of situations about the type of spirit that can manifest and the influence of those spirits in our lives, right? Is in that part that we learn about obsession, the type of obsession. That influence of a spirit can be good, but also cannot be good, bad, right? So let's put aside the influence of the spirit. Let us think about only the physical plane. So, especially for parent, right? So when we have our children, one of the advice we give to our children is like, choose the right friends. And the friend that we want our children to have is those that will guide you to good things, right? Because if you hang out with children that for some reason is a troublemaker in school, you're gonna be, guilty by association, right? Because you are in that environment of those that is not is not doing good things. So at the end of the day, it's all about affinity, who you are affinity to. There is a say that I don't know how to say this in English, but you know, tell me who you walk with, that I know, then I know who you are. Something like that. I know how to say this in Portuguese, not in English. I wish Kirsten is here. Paula can say something related to that. But we can define someone by the type of friend that person have, right? At least we can at least suppose to, right? There is exception in the rule, right? But that's what the way we read our surroundings. So, um, so this is just for you very quickly see what this book cover. They're gonna go from the phenomena to the role of the mediums in the environment that you do this type of communication. Very important. Daniel, can I do this, mediumship meetings or this? Can I contact my loved one at home? Probably not. Why? Because we give the analogy that is the same thing. For example, if you need to do a surgery and a doctor come to you and say, "Hey, come to my home. I have a room in my home, special room. You do your surgery over there." But another doctor says like this: "Can you come to the hospital? So we're gonna do the surgery in the hospital." So which doctor are you gonna choose? Are you sure? Absolutely. I like it. Yeah, of course, we're not gonna do a surgery. So I'm just bring this parallel because it's very important when we talk about mediumship or communication with loved ones or spirit that we do this in a safe way. This part of the book, the environment, is very extremely important. The other question that we can ask is like, can we do this by myself? Can we do this by yourself? Probably not. The doctor doesn't do a surgery by himself. They have a team of other professionals that will help during that procedure, right? So then it talks about the types of mediums. So we're not going to go through this because we're going to tie this topic to consciousness. So the mediums, what is the mediums? A person who can serve as an intermediary between spirits and incarnates. So we are a spirit. The difference is that we have a physical body. But here, for the sake of clarity, we use medium, a person that has that can serve as that has this capability to be the intermediary of two planes, the spiritual one and the physical one. So here in the medium's book, chapter 14, item 158. So Kardec mentioned every individual who senses the influence of spirit to any degree of intensity is a medium. This faculty is inherent to humankind. It therefore does not constitute an exclusive privilege, and there are very few individuals who do not possess it, at least in a rudimentary state. So we may find people over there that really doesn't have this in a way that they can identify this influence. But what they're saying here, Kardec is saying that, is a faculty that's inherent to humankind. So if you consider yourself a human being, then you have that. Unless you say, I'm not human, then it's another story, right? Thus, we can state that everyone is a medium to a certain degree. Certain degree. We are all mediums. So then this is straight from the book. I'm not creating this. This is the information that we have from the medium's book. Okay, so let us move on. So now what is the purpose of mediumship? I should have changed this font. So first, mediumship according to Spiritism serves to provide evidence of the afterlife, offer comfort and guidance, promote moral and spiritual growth, very important. We're going to discuss about that. Joanna Junction, actually. Help spirits in need. It's another thing very interesting. So here in the Spirit Center of Baltimore, many spirit centers around the planet, one of the activities that we consider one of the most important activities is the assistance that we provide to the discarnates, right? So in our medium's meeting, we have, when we do the meeting, we're not going to talk about the detail how we do the meeting. So we have what we call rescuing of spirit that are suffering. And for that, we need to have people that is prepared, that have the knowledge, but also have the practice in how to deal with the presence of those spirits that is suffering, right? We also receive guidance. We also receive message from the spirits guide of the house, of our personal spirits mentors as well, or any other spirits friend that wanted to give some advice to us. It is a sacred faculty with a high purpose. Since we are saying that this is a faculty, let us make a parallel with other type of faculty that we all have. Our intelligence, right? The acquisition of our intelligence. We all here have intelligence. Now, we can use this faculty of the intelligence for good, but also for bad, right? So it's the same thing, right? So if we have this capability to sense, to communicate with the other side, we can attract good, we can attract bad as well. When we make a decision, how our action is going to be after that. So there is a higher purpose that God has granted us, the Spirit, this capability to communicate with the invisible. So now, after this 10 minutes, let us see what Joanna Jans brings in this chapter of consciousness and mediumship. So she started the chapter by, and I'm going to read a couple of passages from the book, not the whole chapter. And she started by saying like this: in the complex mechanism of human consciousness, the paranormal unfolds, broadening the horizon of perception concerning the deeper realities of the individual and life. Very deep, right? Erupting with relative violence in certain individuals, with various ensuing disturbances, paranormality appears subtle in others, granting entrance into wide vibrations bands, those from where human come from before uniting with the body, and whose, to whose circles they return after the physical body has depleted. Dot, 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 right? So I know that you need to read just like 2 or 3 times to understand what she says. But what we did, we kind of summarize. Basically, she's saying like this. She's talking about the nature of paranormality, right? She's not yet talking about mediumship, the word mediumship. And she basically saying like this: paranormality expands our perception of deep reality. Just like to summarize, and we can also say that this text talking about it's manifest differently in individuals. Violent eruption versus subtle entrance. So some people can manifest this faculty either in a very ostensible way or in a very subtle way. Daniel, example. What is the example of a very subtle way? Well, let's pretend we are here talking, right? I have prepared myself to deliver this message. But suddenly a thought came to my mind that I was like, that's nice, that's good, that's not mine. So it's very subtle, right? A suggestion. So doesn't change my physiology, doesn't change my perception. But I can feel that that suggestion probably is not mine, right? Now, what are other example that can be very ostensible is when our emotion becomes so high that everything can irritate us all the time. So probably we have a sign. I'm not saying that you have, because we all get irritated sometime, right? But if this become, you are not a person that doesn't have, so you're a cool person, but suddenly your emotion become very distressed. So maybe we should look at about what this emotion or this type of behaviors come from. Maybe is an influence, and you are perceiving, but you are not aware about, right? Daniel, but some physiological change in our hormone, in our physiology, can trigger this. Yes, that's true, right? But doesn't mean that this could be the consequence of influence as well, right? So we have 5 senses, right? Vision, smell, taste, touch. What's the other one? Hearing. Okay. So that is the physiology, our physiology display. So we can identify things, we can see, we can smell, we can taste. So where is the locate the organ that perceive this invisible? Somewhere in our body, right? Is in our brain, right? We don't have yet like a confirmation, scientific confirmation, but several studies has demonstrated that our pineal glandular is the organ that can sense this difference of vibration when we have a discarnate one that approaches. But what we see, the reality for us is basically what you see, what we feel, right? So just to give an idea, if we look at this spectrum, the spectrum of light, our look our visible, our spectrum of visible light that goes to like 380 to 700. So pretty much look at those. Those is the color that we see, right? Red and I don't know, yellow. So this is the spectrum of light. So everything that we see is the result of light that incide that touch matter, reflect back in the form of color, our eyes capture. What about other things that we don't see? For example, spirits. Why we don't see it? because they are in a different wavelength that's outside of our visible light. That's why we cannot identify it with our eyes. So you see, like radio wave, microwave, infrared, ultraviolet, violet, X-ray, gamma rays, all these um, wavelength, they are in a different spectrum of the visible of the light that that our eyes cannot identify. That's why, for example, dogs can see. They have some type of infrared vision. That's why dogs can perceive the presence of spirit. Some animal can do that, but human cannot, because our the 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 perception of our physical eyes is inside of this band that go from 380 to 700 nanometer in the wavelength spectrum. Spectrum. That's for us to see that there is much more things that exist that goes beyond our physical sense, right? So that's for us to have an idea. And I brought this to support this information about paranormality, right? We are not talking about mediumship yet. We are talking about this capability that we all have in, in relation to perceive things that go beyond physical, the physicality. So then she continued by saying, at first, and then now she brings, mediumship appear as a strange sensation from somehow disturbing psychic or physical presence, generate fear or anxiety, restless or uncertainty. Uncertainty. At times, it creates confusion, whereas at others, it's open luminous breach in the mind, allowing for the perception of another, more subtle type of reality. Allowing for the perception of another more subtle types of reality. So that's what happened, especially like for example, you know what I mean. So, we never felt anything, and then suddenly we start to have those perceptions that become more intense. Pretty much, you say that when this breach happened in our mind, so it's kind of like a switch, and then suddenly we start to observing presence or feel or smell things that not other people around us doesn't perceive. So that's a sign that you are have a extra perception of your surrounding. Hmm. I still have more stuff here. Too. Perception, breed perception. If you register the psychic presence of discarnate beings, or if you feel bound to baseless emotional affliction, silence your unrest and go within via meditation. So she's now advising us. So suddenly you start to have those changing emotion that has no cause. Why I feel so irritated, and if I was not, because sometimes we get irritated because there is a cause. Someone upsets you and said something that trigger those emotions. But if there is no cause behind, she's advised us to go within via meditation, to meditate, to stop, to not do anything, relax, right? Pray first and probe your conscience. So, okay, I feel irritated, or I'm feeling I have this anxiety that I don't know what's coming from. Everything looks fine in my life, right? My health, my financial, my job, my relationship, but I have this anxiety that I don't know what comes from. Joanna Judges advises, stop. Do this probe. We're probe. Analyze, evaluate your conscience. What's going on in your mind, right? So start to study yourself so you can identify if those emotion, if those feelings is really yours or is something that has been, influenced you, right? And she continues saying, strive to develop your psychic awareness without any fear, and you will perceive your loved one approaching you. Beautiful. I'm distressed. I wanted to have the presence of my mother, my father, my brother, my son. You need to calm down your mind. You cannot be stressed because they're not going to approach. When someone, well, who is going to approach you? Those that are in the same level, right? If I'm angry, which type of spirit we approach? Because this the laws of affinity. So we attract those that is in the same frequency, right? So that's why we should be careful. I don't know what happened to my text. You are not okay. You are not a static, finished, finished, finished reality. So basically, she say we are not something that is. We are dynamic. We are probed to evolve, to change. You are not the person that was in this body 10 years ago. You are a different person. You become more mature, but old as well, right? The physical body. Because for the spirit, we are we don't count age, we count experience. We become more experienced, right? Experienced in our evolution. So then she touched about so how can we see mediumship as a tool to help us in our evolution? And we brought the text. She says, in the process of your evolution, mediumship is a new field to, we know, awaiting the pro of your attention. I didn't know what this "in know" means. Paula, what that means. We know. We know means like working, right? Clean it up, focus, yes. Okay, so thank you for the help in the English over there. So I Google, so I know what it is. Um, Mediumship is not a privilege. It's not a privilege. So if you don't have mediumship, like ostensible mediumship, you know, don't think that those that has ostensible mediumship, they have privilege before the creator. You know, it's this situation is more complicated than we can imagine, right? It is a fascinating acquisition for the further growth and improvement of your task in this world. So you see there is something very important in this text here that Joanna Jones brings to us is that if you have this faculty very sensible, very strong in yourself, take this as a opportunity to grow and improve yourself morally. So it's a big responsibility. It's a big responsibility. Daniel, can you break down this in a way that I can understand what you're talking about? Yes. Let's pretend that Daniel, and I'm putting myself in this example, get the car and start to drive. And suddenly I drive very irresponsible. I don't obey the traffic light and I cause an accident, right? So what's gonna happen? The police is gonna come. I will be going, uh, get a ticket. Probably depends of the situation. If someone died, then I'm gonna be very responsible for that situation. Now let's pretend that Daniel is a very famous soccer player from the Flamengo, the best team in Brazil. Do a plug here. So what's gonna happen if I'll do the same thing, but then I will have the same consequence before the police and the local. But that accident is become broadcast to the whole planet because you are a celebrity. You have this power to influence people. Now, bring back to mediumship. You are very sensitive medium. You can talk to the spirit. You can bring consolation message. So a simple act that you do that is a little bit you break the law, that's gonna magnify in a way that is gonna be proportional to this privilege that we gave to you. So just to put in context that, you know, as we learn from the movie Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, right? I quote this from the Spider-Man movie, so I don't know who who wrote that, right? So that's a beautiful line that really express what Joanna Jones is bringing here to us. That mediumship is not, a privilege. Is a big responsibility that we can have it. So then breakdown, we can say that we are dynamic beings in constant evolution. Mediumship is a new field for growth and self-improvement, potential for blissful landscape, fulfilling interaction, and profound reflection, right? So if we look at the life of great mediums in humanity, so then we're going to quote our dear Francisco Cândido Xavier, our dear Divaldo Franco, that is two big reference in spiritism. We see that they can bring to us and they have sharing moments of blissful in this interaction with the other side, right? But at the same time, they have feel alone in this, and have to be forced to go to a deep reflection about that, faculty that they carry, the struggle that they need to go through, right? So they can experience both sides more, I would say, sensible, right? And then she continued, mediumship is not symptomatic of evolution, means not a consequence of evolution. Sometimes comprise a path of expiatory afflictions for the specific purpose of inviting individual to make a moral adjustment before the sovereign law of God. So doesn't mean that you to evolve you need to have this sort of mediumship. But sometimes if you have, this can help you in your evolution. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, have your sense of mediumship is not a sign that you're gonna evolve faster, right? It's not a consequence. Like when she says that mediumship is not symptomatic of evolution. So it's not a consequence of evolution. We talk about symptom. We're talking about a consequence of something that is not working well, right? Perhaps on some occasion you will be taken to sites of suffering and to into distressed people who are also part of the evolutionary context. So we have great example in our not in our life, in humanity, of people that went to great sacrifice, but at the end they help so many people, right? We have our own cross to carry, right? We have our own, but our own is like because we're not celebrity, we just keep ourselves, right? So just us and those that surround us that knows, but those that really is responsible to console, like people, like um, great amount of people that because they have this responsibility to consoling through the message that they have from the higher spirituality or the loved one that has passed away. So this bring great responsibility. This bring um, as she mentioned here, take them to the site of suffering and to distressed people. How many people has approached, you know, I would say, let's use us, how many people has come to the Spirit Center very distressed, and we have really to make an effort to help that person during that moment. Because we know in Spiritism, there is no um, there is no medicine that we can give, like, if you go to a pharmacy and they have a pill, there is no pill, no. So what spirituals bring to us is the certainty that nothing is lost, that we are immortal, even those that we have lost, so those people that is suffering because of moral distress, because things that they have lost in this life, is just part of the evolutionary process of that person, right? So to have this vision, spirituals bring to you this capability to see suffering, to see moments that really cause pain us as an opportunity for us to evolve, right? Daniel, how come? How come I'm gonna evolve if I'm suffering? Well, sometimes when we are when we want parallel example. When we want to lose weight, what do? We close our mouth, we go to the gym, and go to the gym for the first couple of weeks, painful, right? If you want to build muscle, as strong you want to be, you need to lift heavily, right? So that's the same thing, morally speaking. Our evolution to become, tomorrow, you look at the life of Jesus, a pure spirit that came here, and it seems that everything is so easy what he did, right? We wanted to be like Jesus minus the crucifixion, right? That's what we want. Oh, I wish I was Jesus just so I can forgive this person, but we don't want to think about the crucifixion, right? But Jesus, as a pure spirit, he shows everything to us: how to be a good human beings, how to suffering, how to behave when someone betrays you. You are betrayed by two of his disciples, right? Judas and Peter. Peter was betrayed when he negate. How do you say? Deny. Yes, he denied. He was denied. What happened to you if someone come to you and deny you? On, we live now in a situation that is very special for immigrants here in this country. It's very icky, right? So we kind of like need to really walk the line, not to be prosecuted. But put the thing aside, but what happened when a friend betrays us? What do you do? It's hurt, and you cut that person from your life. Jesus did it like that. That's a high bar, Jesus. I cannot go over there. That's too high, right? But this is the message that we Christians follow. We spirituals follows, right? We followed it. But then when the testimony comes, it's not for me yet. We are in the process, Daniel. We are in the process. That's fine. We cannot behave like this, but we are in the process. We are like put in situation that will, you know, even like Lee was reminded us, that a friend of us reminded us, even fall. Jesus fall when he was was he carrying the cross. How many times he falls? 3 times. But did he fall in the same time? He fell. Did he the same place? No. So that is something for us to observe. So he also exemplified. Did Jesus need to go through that situation? Probably not. He did that for us, so we can see that it's possible to, to move on despite of the suffering that we experience in our life. Back to Joanna de Angeli. When one consistently identifies mediumship's superior purpose and resolves to incorporate it into one's daily life, there is immense potential for achievement and unsuspected growth. Beautiful, this part, right? Beautiful, right? So when we realize that this faculty, the superior fact of mediumship can really help us to evolve. So this will help us in our growth that we cannot even imagine, right? Pretty much that's what she's saying here. Mediumship is an invaluable bridge that unifies the hemispheres of physical life and death, eliminating distance and filling the gap between both. So is this tool that we can use to, interact with the other side. Through its past deliberation, energies of knowledge, love, and reason, but when uncontrolled, it promotes grudges, revenge, and affliction. This paragraph very important. So read again. So this interaction that we have with the other side can help us even in our intellect way. Look at how many books we have here, right? So all the information that we have from these books is going to help us, to expand in our knowledge, love and reason. Because now we learn through, those product of mediumship that, we need to forgive. Why? Because in the book, in Life Goes On, we see what happened there, and we see the consequences later when they want to do us. That make us to, let me work myself here, right? Daniel, for us to evolve, we need to suffer. Do we need to suffer to evolve? Not necessarily. Pretty much there is three ways we can evolve. One through suffering, then we learn. The other one by see other people suffering, and then we think like, I don't want to go to that process. Let me change myself. So I didn't suffer myself, but I witnessed other people suffering, right? Example, Daniel, someone uses drugs and we see what happened, especially loved one, and that person go to a situation of really, you know, complicated. We may look at that and say, I never wanted to see that. This is one of the reasons that I don't drink alcohol. And my grandfather was, he was a very heavy drinker. And since I was a child, I was witnessing him drink and be the. So as a child, I put in my mind, I'm never going to drink when I grow up. Here is a spirit communication. Okay. I think you fixed. Yes, you see, you're a good medium over there. So what happened? So that probed me not to be in the drinking thing because I witnessed that situation that was not pleasant for my father, for my whole family. That was very embarrassing when he was drinking. I'm not saying here that you should not drink. If you drink, if you do all this stuff, so this is on you. It's not me. I'm not. But it's just to say that there's another way that we can evolve by learning from others' mistake. So the first one is from our mistake. The second one for others' mistake. What about the third one? Repeat again. By following the love of God. In another way, by trying to do everything right, to think before act, to analyze the situation, then you are training your reason, your mind, your intelligence to evolve, right? But in the level that we are, we still need to go to the process of the first two one. Either made our own mistake so we can learn, or learn from other mistakes, right? But somehow we are using these three type of approach in our life. We have made our mistake, we learn, we observe other people's mistake, we learn it, but also we study, we learn from our thing, from our efforts to that we put in learning about God's law, right? Time, we're almost there. The importance of conscience, and Joanna Jungel about this, she said, consciousness regard one spiritual reality provide an area of endless development that everyone can achieve. Everyone can achieve. Then really, even that people that is in jail, that is so, yeah, even that person. Now, because we all have free will, so we may take different, take different times to reach the level of consciousness. You will turn into pain, however, so that your desire to help others may awaken, gain a better understanding of the law of cause and effect that govern the universe. At other time, in uplifting moments, you will acquire wisdom and enlightenment for never-end growth, leading along with yourself those who have not yet managed to walk without support. In order to be dignified, mediumship needs the light of an ennobled conscience. The greater the conscious discernment, the broader the potential for mediumistic exchange. Everything is proportional, right? As much as you know, there is more chance you make less mistake, right? Because you make mistake because sometimes you don't know, or sometimes because you want to be stubborn and you want to do the way that you want, and then you crash, and then you learn, right? Then you crash, and then you learn, and then this crash and learn, one day we become pure, right? Because we are learning, and then one day we're not crashing, we just learn. And to finalize, she always finalized this chapter with a question from the Spirit's book. And this one is question 408, right? And she quote this question in the end of the chapter. And we kind of put the question here. And Kardec asked the enlightened spirit, sometimes it seems to us that we hear within our distinctly pronounced word that have no relation to what we are preoccupied with. Where do they come from? Breaking down. Sometimes we hear some suggestion, some voice that is not related to what really is going on in my life or what I was thinking. And he asked, where do they come from? And the answer, the higher order spirit explained. Yes, and even an entire sentence, especially when the sense begin to grow dull. It is sometimes the faint echo of a spirit who wishes to communicate with you. Beautiful. I don't know about you guys, but I have many of those experiences in my life. You know those experiences that you are here driving, suddenly come that emotion and then you want to cry, but it's a blissful feeling. And you are not playing a music, because sometimes we play a music that touches, right? Because we remember a situation that's a beautiful music, beautiful lyric, but there is no music, there is nothing. Suddenly you feel that embrace, you feel that suggestion that was, oh my god, and you tear like, wow, who are the person that is here? And what I do, sometimes I look behind to see if there is someone sitting in the back seat, and I know that's my mom, because the moments that I used to experience for her when she was in the physical body, it sometimes repeats. And although I was not communicating with her through WhatsApp, through cell phone, but I felt her presence. It's so beautiful. And that brings me like energy and bring the feeling that, you know, Daniel, life is beautiful. Life is good. No matter what happened, keep keep up. Né? Keep the good work, right? Or keep your heads up. Keep your heads up. You know, because it's not because our loved one is not physically present that we're gonna put our head down and be sad and upset with God. No, it was time for her, for for him to go, and that's fine. We need to accept we missed, right? But we need to learn that all this is a process that we pushing us to one day to be really live in a in a community that we're not gonna have those feeling anymore. So to finalize, Joanna says, aware that this rich mediumistic potential is within you, your reach, become inwardly silence, study your faculty, and while meditating, get in tune with your spirit guide so that it may lead you surely, enlighten and strengthening your consciences. We don't need to have ostensible mediumship. If you don't have, don't ask for, right? If you have, try to cope and try to really like, but if you, because we already all experience this, right? I'm not a sensible medium, but I know I can recognize that sometimes we are touched by those that loves us, our guardian angel, our family member that has passed away, and we can take what we need to do. What Joanna is bringing here is become aware of this possibility. Is become aware that we can go away beyond our physical eyes. We just need to really do this inner um, discovery, we can say like that, and trying to figure out, okay, so is this Daniel thought? Is this someone else? We can apply this for other situation because sometimes we get so upset that we don't know where that come from. When you get upset, stop and say like this: what is this? Is this me, Daniel? What is the cause? Is there a cause on this? You know, oh, maybe, yeah, maybe, I don't know, your spouse said something that you felt hurt. And then what you do, you ask, why am I feeling hurt? One of the things that Joanna Judge mentioned in her work, she said like this: you get upset, great. Feel upset, feel angry. Give the opportunity to experience that emotion. Period. Now continue the text. But now that you recognize that emotion, what you gonna do after to work on that? So we need to transform that. Daniel, can we do this in a lifetime? Probably not. That's why we're here, right? Because if we are like a superior spirit, probably we are incarnating Jupiter, in, I don't know, other planets, right? But to have this conscience, this knowledge in our mind and repeating through our mind, through the books, to others, will help us because we become like a um, police of our own thoughts. We become the police of our own thoughts. That is dangerous. That's dangerous. So let me rephrase. That's good, but require a lot of work because nobody wanted to become a police all the time of your thought. Make sure that you're not going to go like crazy about that. But especially in a punctual situation in our life, we need to ask ourselves, like if I'm the investigator of someone that is making something that's not right. So to finalize, I would like to say to you, embrace your mediumistic potential because we all have that, as we learned in the beginning of this presentation. And how do you do that? Acknowledge the potential within. We all have that inside of us. Cultivate inner silence. Very difficult. Very difficult. We become like silent when we are in the middle of situation that is very adverse, right? Study your faculty. Wow, study. She's not saying that you study. So observe yourself. Observe how you feel in different situations of life, right? How you feel when you're by yourself and how you feel when you're among others. Because we can see the difference. Daniel can behave very well here in front of you guys. I hope you guys not gonna talk to my wife after here because she may say, I know how he's at home sometime. Right? So I'm saying this because we need to be transparent with ourselves. I'll not be here if I'm not be transparent with myself because I'll be so ashamed with things that you should have done differently. And we say this because we want to level this in the level that we are as humanity, right? We are not, few people in this planet are above the expectation. But we wanted to be among those that are working to better ourselves. That's why in Spiritism offered to us this possibility. He said that a good Spiritist, a good Christian, and this is the gospel according to Spiritism, it's not those that are ahead of the game. It's those that are making an effort to don't make their bad inclination. So if you are like working yourself to become a better person, then you are spiritist. Then you are Christian. Good ones, right? So to finalize, meditate and connect with your spirit guide. Then how do you do that? There are people that talk to themselves, right? That's very common in people that live by themselves. And suddenly the person walk and talk, who are you talking to? I have a roommate. I have a roommate when I was in college that my bedroom was close to the kitchen. And suddenly I was like, it's like long conversation in the kitchen. The person was cooking, and I was like, oh, someone is here. And then when I was to come to the kitchen, he was by himself. But who are you talking to? But he was talking loud that he was talking to someone. You know, I said, man, you are not talking to yourself. You know that. And he used to laugh, right? Daniel, do you really believe in this? No, I don't believe. I'm certain that you're not talking to yourself, right? So that's a way that we can maybe he was talking to his spirit guide. Depends of the type of conversation. We can identify that. Some other type of conversation definitely was not. Allowed your guide to enlighten and strengthen your conscience. So, guys, that's it. So, thank you so much. I have a few minutes for question. I don't know, Leo, if you have anything from the internet, from you guys here, please feel free to ask question, and here is the answers. Go ahead, Leo.
There is a comment that I would like to bring, and then I will ask a question so that you can explain what are the. Well, let me get to the point. This is from Arza Raelina Rakoxi. Sorry if I mispronounce your name there, but she says the following: I just wish that spirit centers would open up the mediumship meetings to people who are interested in joining and learning spiritism. So, on that note, you can comment on this, and I would ask as well: is there something that one can do to, or needs to do, or is there something that, what is the prerequisite, or that somebody can then join the mediumship meetings?
Thank you so much for your question. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce your name because Leo over there could not even. I'm not gonna, mess up with your name. But thanks so much for participating. And your question is very good question. And it is the type of question that everybody that comes to a spirit center, majority of the people they come because they are interested in this type of phenomenon. Either they wanted to receive message for loved one, or they wanted to be the medium that will interact. So here is the here is this answer is in the spirit in the medium's book, by the way. But I'll try to paraphrase what we learned from the guidelines that Kardec put together. Everyone is invited to do good work, but with that invitation come a great responsibility. So what we have seen, and I'm not saying that the person that asked the question, his case or her case, is that people come to Spirit Center very motivated at the beginning, but since we are dealing with suffering, we need to have a type of training before put yourself to be doing this type of work. So not all physician is trained to be in a ER. That's why we have ER physicians, and you have general physician that is not in the ER. The other thing that I wanted to say is that because the Spirit Center is also a school, and because it has this component of education, and we are educating here not to pass grade, but as the immortal spirit that we are, educating ourselves and help others that come, we have some requirements that we need to go through. First, studying. That's very important. Now, and the study here is not that deep study. It's to understand the ins and outs of this world. The second one that is so important as the study, I would say even more, is the harmony that you need to be with that group. Imagine a surgical room if the team that's operating someone is not in harmony. The physician, the nurse, the technician, the person that is administering the drug. I mean, it's going to be a mess. I don't want to be the patient of that team. So we need to really to put all this in context, right? So basically, this is one thing. But you don't need to be in a spirit center to do good. You don't need to be in a spirit center, in a medium's meeting, to speed up your evolution. If you feel that you have the presence, you feel the presence of spirit in your life, study, pay attention. I mean, you have books you can study, but use that thing in channel to charitable work, for example, right? So I saw something here today, and I'm not gonna say I saw that, you know, someone embrace another person. It was very simple thing, but I feel through my senses that embrace was more than one embrace, right? A hug. And I saw that something was going on over there. So sometimes we just need to give a hug, we just need to listen. And we are already being a good medium, right? So I know if I answer, but what I wanted to say is like, if you have a spirit center close to you, and for somehow you need to go through a process to become a, you know, uh, become part of the spirit center, my first recommendation, follow the guidelines of the spirit center. If you feel that that's not for you because it's going to take too long, maybe to be in a medium's meeting, and this, there is no time. It's not like university that, you know, in 2 years you can get your, you know, your certificate, right? In 4 years you got your diploma, something like that. No, we don't have this, but you have like Spirit Center has a program that we go through that, and you know, not everybody can feel like affinity of certain group, and that's fine. Look for others, you know. Spiritism does not prohibit, does not um, control anyone. You know, we are free to do whatever we want. But if you come to a spirit center, there is some kind of guideline that you need to go through, right? But once you embrace spiritism, the expectation is very high. So keep that in mind.
No more comments, Daniel.
Yes.
Alba?
I'll give here to.
Thank you, Daniel, for bringing this beautiful presentation between Joanne and Kardec. Um, like two questions in one. The first one, is there any specific age in the life of a person that this ostensible mediumship will manifest? That's the first one. The second one is more, what would you advise for parents, especially of teenagers that are starting to have these hormonal changes, and that somehow they are like a good channels for spirits? So it's a what age, and then like an advice for parents of teenagers.
Yeah, that's a good question. In terms of age, one thing that we need to look is the maturity of that person. Because sometimes we see, you know, teenager, 15, 16 years old, that's very mature, very responsible. So when you look at these books, the codification of spiritism, all the mediums that helps Kardec, they are teenager. So Daniel, but that time, a teenager was like considered young adult because, you know, they are like, you know, but the life expectancy also was short. So you need to put everything in proportion, right? You need to look at that, but also compare to nowadays. So the first thing I would say is the maturity of that person. Of course, if it is a child, you're not gonna incentivize that. You know, as a parent, you're not gonna push that uh, uh, child to communicate with spirit. I mean, like I have two little kids, one 4, the other 6. I know they are talking to spirit all the time, because at home sometimes I see he's saying something, and the other day I was with my son. He was saying, "Oh, there is a man over there in the door." I said, "Great! What this man is? He's tall, he's short." So when this happened to him, I just ask normally if it is something normal. I don't create any like big deal. So first for parents, if your little children is saying stuff, just treat as normal. Normal. This is one thing. Now, in regards to mediumship meeting like that's organized, like well organized in a spirit center, of course we don't advise them because there is other activity at the center that they can be engaged, right? But let's see, like, you know, but my son, 16 years old, he can see spirit, he can hear, he's very sensible. Then we need to give a special attention to that particular person and see if the maturity and even with the guidance of the parent, if it is someone that you can work with him or with her in that age. technically you wait for them to become mature, like 18, 21. So we kind of follow, what society has established to study the level of maturity, right? So one thing that we should not forget is that even everybody has a spirit guide. And if you cannot mistake some mental issue with mediumship, I'm not going to even go there because it's another talk, a workshop about mental disorder and mediumship manifestation. It's two things that some people can say, oh, this person is a medium, but at the end it's not mediumship, it's mental disorder. And for this, we have professional that can, go and evaluate and come to a diagnosis. So we need to be very careful, because one of the things that we do in Spirit Center, when someone come with those kind of things, this is person seeing a psychologist, is this person go to a psychiatrist. So we wanted to get rid of all the physical problem that that person may have, in order for us to come for a diagnosis and say, oh, this person needs to educate their mediumship. So I hope I answer your question. Okay, so Leo, anything over there? Anyone here would like to ask a question? You would like to ask a question? It's now or never. Okay, if not, guys, thank you so much. May God bless all of us. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go offline for those that has been watching us, and we're gonna move to our passes that we have. So very quickly, this is the moment that we kind of like shut down our intellect. We try to connect to the spirit guide, the mentors of this house. We're gonna call to center to sit here in the front when the time comes. So we ask that you sit, you put your hands up if you want, or whatever. Just the only thing that we ask, keep your mind in prayer, in good thoughts. Nobody's gonna touch you. We're gonna like dim the light, and after that we're gonna have like a small amount of water, the blessed water, and then we have our final prayer. So that's it. Thank you everyone that is watching us online, and we're gonna move now to our passes.